Hello. I'm here because I have a program that's starting next week, and I want to let you know about it and to answer any questions that people might have. So, let me first introduce myself. I'm Dr. Doreen Downing. I'm a psychologist, and I've been in the field for over 40 years. So I am quite skilled at doing the deeper dive to get at what might be the block that is stopping you from being more expressed. So if you're struggling with anxiety, whether it's at work, with coworkers or at a meeting where you just want to raise your hand and offer your opinion, or what else is at work? Oh, I have a client who needed to present to the board of directors. So that was quite challenging for him. And I have another client who is the head of sales and who feels like every Friday morning before he gives his report that he is suffering and he knows he's going to walk into a den of what feels like wolves. So these are just some examples of what work situations require of you to white knuckle through or to just go silent and not speak up, not be able to express your opinion or something you've worked on, and you've got an alternative. You've got something that could make a big difference in a project that a group of people are working on. So that would be one example of work. You work at a company. But another example of the people that I work with are those who are entrepreneurs, conscious professionals, people who feel like they have a message. And let's see, to give an example of a couple people, let's see, a yoga teacher who felt like the only time she was comfortable was when she had her eyes closed, and that was the only time she felt comfortable speaking to her class. Let's see, another person who led retreats or wanted to lead retreats, but felt like she was too afraid to be in front, to be a leader, to actually help people, usher them through a transformational experience. So these are some of the examples of the people who find me because they feel like they got to go stand out somewhere, somewhere in public and either share their point of view or their message. Another example that comes up are people who have books. They've written a book. They've found their voice and they're able to put it down on paper, but to actually come out into a room full of people at a bookstore, they get really scared when they imagine that that's what they're going to have to do eventually when their book is published. So those are some of the professional situations where I help people find their voice, their strength to be more expressed in those kinds of situations. Work, entrepreneurship, doing a book launch. But there's also personal situations, people who just feel like, I've held myself back for way too long. And it's time for me, finally, to stand up or at least, find a way in which I feel more comfortable, more confident. And it could be just in a social situation, a setting where you're with friends and maybe other people are more verbal, more talkative, and you're more of a quieter type, a sensitive type, a introvert maybe, where you feel like, oh, that kind of speaking quickly and speaking to get yourself in a conversation sometimes feels like, I'd rather just take a breath and sit back and listen and enjoy the conversation without having to find my way in. So personally, and professionally are ways in which I work with people to find their voice. And that's what my program coming up next week. It's a 12-week program. And for those of you who are interested, I'd like to give you a few more details, and let me share my screen so that you can see what I have in store for you. So the Find Your Voice training program, what you'll get, there are 12 weeks starting April 3rd, and there are group coaching sessions. And you'll notice in the second note here that they're only it's only limited to 6 participants. And that way, each one gets a lot of personalized coaching, but you also get the support of an entire group. So you get my wisdom, my coaching, my expertise as a mindfulness coach, as a teacher, as an expert, experienced psychologist that can get at the root of your anxiety and help you draw lines between what you experience nowadays and how that probably started way, way earlier in your life. I have provided an online, well, it's more than a manual, but it's a whole series of lessons. And there'll be 12 weeks of lessons that you'll be able to download with information, with links, with exercises, and with suggestions and practice tips. And this idea of growing together, I think, is important. You aren't alone when it comes to speaking up and expressing yourself with a calmer kind of confidence, not a powerful kind of, I'm here, look at me kind, but it's, I'm here. It's a grounded kind of strength that's anchored into this now present moment. And I'll tell you more about that in the next couple of slides. And lastly, you get lifetime access to the entire course, the content that will be available to you. So the Find Your Voice Kickstart begins with this. It's 1 week where we set goals and we do powerful visioning, maybe some kind of imaginative kind of process where I help you tap into your biggest why. What's drawing you forward? You know, they say that fear pushes, but the vision will pull you. And that's it's a different feel, isn't it? And then the second week is face to face with fear. And most people want to get rid of fear. I help people turn around and be able to take the breath and not run away. There's some part of your brain that wants to get out of there. That's called the flight. There's a part of you that just says, get out of here. That's the fight. But what about being just in this now with the fear, looking at it calmly and getting curious? What is this fear about? Where did it come from? And how come it lingers? And what is it costing you? The center of stillness is how to quiet your mind and how to ground and center yourself into the very still, quiet point inside of yourself. And fear sits up here. Fear is in your mind, but how to move down, down, down. And it's almost a hypnotic kind of suggestion that we work with that helps you relax your entire body. And that's what the next week, I already mentioned it, the power of now, because what people do is they bring in the past of what happened to them. And if it was trauma, if it was some kind of childhood experiences, whether it was cultural messages, there's ways in which who you are today in terms of your struggle to find your voice plays a part, but it also plays a part because you're projecting it into the future and you're rehearsing a future that isn't here now. And you're seeing yourself either failing or being not good enough, or people are, or humiliated. A lot of times people imagine that it's going to be a painful experience because it once was. That means it probably will again. But the answer is how to find the power of presence. And I have techniques and tools and tips on how to do that. The Find Your Voice Roadmap also has, in week 5, I talk about softening your eyes. And you might do that right now as you're listening to me. Soften. Soften. And when you think about softening the sockets around your eyes, your cheeks automatically relax, your shoulders automatically drop down, and breath is so much easier. So that's a tip you could take right now, but we do way more about how to gaze softly and learn about how to strengthen this part of your eyes. I don't call it eye contact, by the way. I call it eye presence. And in week 6, the lost art of listening. And you might say, well, what does listening have to do with speaking? And I feel like it is the foundation of speaking. You're listening to the now moment, which we've just talked about being present. You're listening to the person or the audience in front of you, and you're listening to yourself. That's a lot of listening. And if you're and if you're only thinking about speaking, you're in a script and you're not connected to this now present moment where you can hear everything at once. You can be with, and that's part of an exercise that I teach is the be with exercise. Being with yourself, being with your listeners, and being with your content all at once. The week 7 is about being, I call it positively irresistible. And that's because inside of you is this treasure, this jewel, I like to say, and that it has many facets and you get to shine. You get your voice. I mean, like once you find this jewel inside, that's where your voice comes from. Your voice isn't some kind of disembodied you out there. It's not just the script in your head. It's not just some message. It's actually an embodied sense of being connected to an inner sense of self, a truth. And that is the jewel inside of you. And it makes you positively irresistible because that's what you radiate out. Week 8, you are wired for connection. And yes, the brain back here where we are triggered emotionally and the brain up here where we try and control ourselves, those wires are not connected. So that's one of the reasons why we need to go inside at a deeper level and approach the one inside who's scared. And that's the back part of your brain. And this wiring, when you learn how to rewire your brain, that's what we've learned in neuroscience is that there's neuroplasticity. We can change the brain and we can make this part of our brain reduce its warning signals, that you get when you're hijacked by fear and increase the ability to come back to now, soften your eyes, all the ways in which you've learned up to this point on how to come back to your truth and speak with confidence. Week 9, the confident you. By 9th week, you will have received quite a few instructions, tips, learning lessons. You will by then have developed what I call the inner presence muscle, the IP muscle. And in this IP muscle, which just needs to be strengthened, right? So that you can drop down when fear starts to aggravate you or starts to knock. You notice it and you're able to catch it, go down, whew, drop down into your muscle, your presence, and you feel that's finally the confident you because you know how to do that. There's a way, a roadmap that I've created for you to find your way to the sense of who you truly are and what matters most for you to say in the moment. And then I apply it because speaking isn't just about being on a stage, right? It's about being fearless in your daily life. And I mentioned some of those situations in the beginning at work when you're talking to colleagues, at work when you're in a professional meeting and you've got to report on your most recent update on your project, at work where you have to talk to the board of directors, let's say, at work where you have to talk to your boss, or at work where you're the boss and you've got to delegate or help people become the best that they can be. But there's also daily life is in relationships. Are you able to open up, let love in, and be able to find your voice to be able to say, I love you in return? Are you able to share what you love about people? Are you able to express what really is a feeling, not necessarily the love that I've just been talking about, but maybe if you're upset, how do you do it in a way that is compassionate? How do you do it in a way that you can speak up and be heard? And also, I know that this work is also parents who are learning how to be more mindful, more conscious when they talk to their children, when they speak to their children. It's not speaking at, it's speaking with is one of my messages, right? And so this Life is Your Stage, week 11, is where we continue this kind of growing more strong, this presence muscle, and being able to walk into any arena, any situation, know that you know how to line up. Notice I'm doing this, knowing how to line up, ground and center yourself, tap into this jewel that's inside, this strength, this core, this superpower, and be able to have a voice. And then we look at, well, so what's next? And there's always what's next in terms of finding your voice. The Find Your Voice training program has an investment, and you get, this is all of what you get. Small, I've talked about it, small supportive group, live expert coaching, downloadable lessons, instructional videos, exercises with feedback, and mindfulness tools. And I priced it as close to $10,000, all of what you would get. And I'm offering it now for $1,997, which is a full range of, wow, to beginning to end, a transformational journey for you to be able to find your voice and change your life. I have two options in terms of payment. One is pay in full, and the other is pay in installments. And if you pay in full, you get a little bit of savings there. And yet I know that people sometimes need to do installments. So if you want to get started right away, you can at $497. And I always like to give a quick action incentive so that if you act right now, as soon as possible, I will put in the chat the link to also how you can sign up. And we'll get to that in just a second. But I just want to say what the bonus is if you sign up right away is we get to start and I get to do a session with you right away to begin to comb through what the blocks are and what you're looking for in terms of how this is going to make a difference in your life, the biggest why. And you'll get my book and I'll autograph it for you. And I've done the third thing that I'm offering in terms of a bonus is an anxiety showcase where I've interviewed, I think it was 20 experts who talk about speaking anxiety and their tips for overcoming it. So again, pay in full or pay in installments. And if you have a phone out or you have a way to take a picture of this, you'll see that you'll be able to get into the program, sign up the registration with just that QR code. I'll take a minute here so that I'll also put it in chat how you could sign up for the program. There's a link right there. DoreenDowning.com courses, Find Your Voice Group Coaching Program. And I'd like to leave with this idea that finding your voice, you can see that I've made it kind of a curvy road, but you've heard that I do have the roadmap. I know how to get to what matters most to you. And that's why I have this image with the heart at the end, because I think that's what we're talking about, how to speak up with goodness, kindness, gentleness. We're looking at the heart that is full of what is so good about you. And I want to help you get there so that you can, again, find your voice and change your life. So if there are any questions, let me answer those questions. I know that sometimes people talk about, here's one. As an introvert, I guess the question is, how do introverts use what I teach and how does it work for introverts? Well, because I'm an introvert, I know exactly what you feel, and I know what it's like to hold myself back and to wait until other people have said whatever they're going to say, and then see if there's anything else that I might add. But I know that I could have made a point earlier, and how to do that, maybe just kind of bring my body forward and raise my hand and kind of come into the conversation earlier physically is one of the ways in which I share how to be with a group of extroverts and also be able to say, whoa, wait, I have something to say, something like that. So that would be one idea that I have that I could share right here, right now. But I can tell you that in the Find Your Voice training program, you will develop, as I talked about earlier, an inner presence muscle that strengthens your ability to go, I have something to say, or hello, in whatever way you need to grab attention, because you're no longer afraid to have eyes on you. You're no longer afraid to have the spotlight on you, because you're able to stay in this now moment present. And you have quick techniques like softening your eyes, present moment awareness techniques that I'll be teaching you. Any other questions today? If not, then thank you for joining me, and thank you for your interest in the Find Your Voice training program. I'm available if you need to sign up just to talk to me privately, to ask any more questions, and to see not if, but how I can help you find your voice.